I hate to say it, but if you ain't gonna use them, let them loose. At the end of the day, I saw these releases coming. I just didn't know when exactly they were going to release certain talents, but we all know that the Good Brothers, the OC, Gallows and Anderson, they were never being used and they were barely seen on TV. It was a matter of time until they got cut loose yet again. Um, Giovanni Da Vinci, he's not a surprise either. I mean, he came back as a new character, but got squashed by Apollo Crews in 3 seconds. So his push was definitely diminished the minute that he got back. Or actually, it was actually already over when he got kicked out of Imperium during the draft. So it was already over for dude. Isla Dawn, however, she had some success. You know, she was half of the women's tag team champions with Alba Fire. I was not expecting her to get let go. That's a little bit disappointing because I think she had a little bit more upside than what people care to realize. You know, um, she kind of just you kind of leave Alba Fire hanging, but she's now a singles act. So I guess they want to use her as a single star now. I suppose, right? Um, you know, the other releases, however, Sonya Deville, um, her contract was not going to renew. So it was a matter of her contract just expiring and them just saying, you know what, we're going to cut you loose. See ya. Bye. And so this is the equivalent of shedding the fat, okay? Loosening the weight, right? Cutting down weight, as they say. And honestly, it's like if you're not going to be used, then what's the point? Obviously, you got to have some guys at job, like Giovanni Da Vinci. He could have stayed. He could have been a jobber to a mid Carter. He could have put over a Jimmy Uso. He could have put over a Carmelo. He could have put over a Jacob Fatu. You know, like these guys can be used as enhancement talent. Like you can't just release all the enhancement talent. Like I'm surprised Apollo Crews is still sticking around. He's still pushing, man. I gotta give Apollo credit. Now the authors of pain, that's disappointing. AOP getting let go again with Paul Ellering, that's disappointing. Because, this is your nostalgic NXT act from back in the day. They got put with Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy years ago. Then they come back after being released the first time and they're feuding with the Wyatt Six, and they're forming the Final Testament with Karrion Kross and Scarlett. That has potential. So that really flopped in the end because nothing really came significant out of that whole thing. AOP could have been World Tag Team Champions. They could have been facing the War Raiders for the World Tag Team Championships. I mean, come on. Like, out of all the tag teams you want to let go, you want to let go AOP again? I'm telling you, somebody in the back, somebody in higher management does not like AOP. I am convinced beyond measure that there is somebody important in the back, in office, and they do not like AOP for some reason. They just don't. So that boggles my mind, man. Sonya Deville, part Pure Fusion Collective. That group never really got going. Um, they never really had any success at all. Sonya Deville, she got back from injury last year, and she was already women's tag team champions before Chelsea Green. That seemed to be like the original plan before she got injured. But it was just a matter of her not, them not renewing her contract. So that's not really a surprise there. It's not a matter of her being just released or cut. Blair Davenport was never doing anything important on SmackDown. She was just facing Naomi for a while, and that was it. Like, you saw her for a cup of coffee, to be honest with you. And she was called up from NXT, and she gets let go months later. Same thing with Dijak. Dijak got released much earlier than Blair Davenport, and he was called up from NXT. So it goes back to what I was saying. If you're not going to use these people, just cut them loose. I don't see why people are going to be angry about these releases, because it's like they're not on your TV screen every week. They're not in storylines, they're not in big matchups, they're not doing anything relevant in the scene right now. Let them go. AEW needs to take the initiative to let certain people go. If you're not going to use them, then what's the sense of having them on contract? What's the sense of having them in catering backstage, still making money, doing nothing? Tony Khan, if you're not using Ricky Starks, let him go. If you're not using Ray Phoenix at all, let him go. There's a variety of talent in AEW that Tony Khan could release right now, right? And another round of budget cuts has came around, and I think this might be the last batch, because who else are you going to get rid of? Like, you don't want your roster to be completely depleted now. Like, I get we got to declutter, we got to trim the fat, but like, come on, man. Some of these guys, some of these names could have stayed. AOP comes to mind. They could have definitely stayed and done some things with the War Raiders. You could have still kept Isla Dawn around and all that, right? Hell, I would have even kept Blair Davenport around for a while just to see what she can do, give her a chance. But the rest of the releases, I'm not surprised that they got cut. Um, it was pretty much already over for, Giovanni Da Vinci, the OC, and yeah, that's pretty much it.